Alright, so I'm back with the F350. Got the its fuel pump. Hopefully this goes smoothly. I've never done one of these on this motor before. They can be kind of a pain in the ass because the way they work is they go into the side of the block, and this is driven off of the crank, and it just pumps up and down. This one's pretty stiff. Yeah, it just pumps up and down, and that's what draws your fuel in through that one. Wait, no, through this one, and then pushes it to the carb through that one. So we'll see how well this goes. Hopefully this one just goes in straight in. I know with some of the Chevys, and even on I think it was my 300, it's been about 4 or 5 years back that I did it. Normally there's like a little push rod that comes out of the block, and you've got to like do this balancing act of keeping it up while you're trying to squeeze the pump in so it falls into the little spot it's supposed to be on. But this one looks like it just rests on the crank, and as the crank turns, it drives this up and down. So we'll see. Worst case scenario, I'll have to turn the motor over by hand, put a bolt or put a wrench on the crank. I wasn't too terribly confident in the battery I was using yesterday, because like it would crank good as long as the jump box was on it. So I've got the work tag set up with the battery in the back of it, and I'm just gonna let it sit there and charge it while I'm doing all this, and hopefully that'll be enough to get a decent enough charge on it to get this thing to fire off. I did forget to grab the fuel filter. I was already pretty much up here when it dawned on me, so I'm just gonna take this one off and fill it with gas and like shake it around and try to get this crap out of the bottom of it there. If I'm still not happy with how clean I can get it, I'm pretty confident that there's another one up here on a parts truck back up in the field that should be in better shape, but I'm pretty sure I can get it cleaned out, just putting gas in and shaking it around a bunch, because that's just sediment in the bottom of it. So oh, excuse me, guess we'll see how this goes. Hopefully it goes in and fires right up so I can move on to the brakes. Alright, got the old one out. About as easy as I expected. It's not doing well. It sounds like it wants to, but it doesn't sound as good. See, that one's actually creating. Doesn't sound as good as the other one. But like I said, it looks brand new and it had fuel in it, so maybe where it's just sat with fuel in it, it's ate that diaphragm away. Somebody's added a little nipple on the end for the soft line, so let's get that out real quick. Swap it over. I'm really hoping that this does it. I don't see why it wouldn't. It's a pretty simple fuel system. It's kind of the only part of it that does anything. The rest of it's pretty much gravity. Should probably put some new thread sealer on it, but I don't have any with me. If it becomes a problem later, I'll deal with it later. These things are pretty good about sealing though. They kind of meet up like brake lines. So the thread sealer is just to make you feel better. Boom. I don't know if I got lucky or what, that when I pulled this one out, it was already in the up position. Because sometimes when you take these things apart and you get the screws out of them, or get the bolts out of them, it'll like angle up or down because of the position that the arm's in. And you can see that these are made with that little slot cut out, that way you can get it in and force it down to get that bolt on it, or to get that nut on it, because it's it's a stud that comes out of the block and you put the nut on it. So may have gotten lucky and not have to turn the motor over to get it where it's supposed to be. So I'll take y'all with me. Let's see if we can't get set up under here, because I've got the I had the socket and the wrench that I need. Where'd that 1/2 inch go? Right up here. Had a 1/2 inch box. I threw it on, but I threw it back in the top of the box so I didn't lose it, and I lost it in the top of the box. Come on. There it is. Okay. Oh. Okay. See if I can't get y'all set up to where you can see what's going on. Maybe. This should work. I don't know if y'all can see or not. I don't know if it's focusing. But this goes right in here. Bam. We got lucky. Most of the time you have to fight those things just to get them to sit where they need to be sitting. And this one pretty much went right on. Those threads are a little tight, but that's what that wrench is for. So we're just going to slowly let this nut walk itself down on that stud. That's going to get us in position to put that top bolt in, because it is actually a bolt. I had to actually get to it from the top because it's such a tight clearance between the bolt and the actual fuel pump housing. So we'll put it back in through the top. Man, that was lucky. I've watched people fight these things to get them in. I like this design a lot better than that little push rod thing that Chevys use. Not entirely sure. I honestly can't remember if my 300 inline has the push rod set up for the fuel pump or not. I did it once, not long after I had the truck, maybe a year after I had it. But I definitely like this a lot better. This thing went right on. You don't have to balance that little push rod, which some of the small blocks, like the 350 and 305 small blocks, they actually have a bolt that you can pull out of. It's right about here on the block, and you can run a bolt through it, and that bolt will hold that push rod up for you to get it in position and get the fuel pump on, and then you just take that bolt out and put the shorter stubby one back in it that came out of it that doesn't interfere with the push rod. That one's tight. Let's see if we can't get this one in with our fingers. Yeah, it went right in. I'm just gonna leave y'all right there and do this from the top. These are also really easy to go with an electric fuel pump too. I may have to get that one in further, because to turn this to an electric fuel pump, you just make a block off plate for it and seal it up, and that's it. I mean, and of course wire in your new fuel pump, but I've seen a lot of mixed emotions on that. Some people like the mechanical one on the side of the block because they're relatively simple and they rarely screw up, but you know, they don't build parts like they used to. You know, it wasn't unheard of for these fuel pumps to really never be replaced because they were made so well, and now everything's made out of cheap Chinesium, and you don't get as long a life out of parts as you used to. So mixed emotions on doing the electric fuel pump conversion or not. It's really just kind of a personal preference thing. I don't mind them either way. It's not real fun when you're having to replace an electric fuel pump and they don't have an access panel to get to it. That always pisses me off. End up dropping the tank on something that should take 15-20 minutes with something with an access panel to it taking 2 or 3 hours to get the tank out, get the sending unit and the pump out, swap everything, seal it back up, hope you didn't break 5 or 6 bolts for the tank straps, etc. So I like these that are up here and easily accessible. Oh. Alright, oh crap. Kind of an important part. It's not going to be pumping much fuel without the hose, is it? Put this one here, that in there. Oh, crap. One of these days I might invest in something to actually hold the camera. This is going to be a little too difficult for me to film and do, so we'll start the filming back when I actually got these 2 lines on. All right, got those lines on. Sorry for the interruption. So now I'm gonna get this fuel filter off and pour some gas in it, shake it around. See if we can't get all this sediment out. If I'm not happy with how much I get out of it. I'm in the mountains, you gotta be wary when stuff moves that wasn't you. If I'm not happy with the amount of sediment that I get out of it, we'll go see if we can't rob one off of another truck. Give me a moment. We'll get this in here. Yeah, that'll work. So I'm gonna transfer gas from this jug to this bottle without pouring it on myself. I'll just use this bottle to pour some gas down in that filter. That'll be enough. Hopefully, after 2 or 3 times of doing this, I can get all that sediment out of it without coating myself in gas. Alright, that's a decent amount. Oh yeah, it came right out. Yeah, wouldn't have wanted all that getting in that bowl. And if you ever do this, try to pour it out this end. That way, whatever you're washing through doesn't go right back into the filter. That's why I'm going to do this 2 or 3 times to actually try to clear and clean that filter. Because like as soon as I poured it back in, y'all can see it. Well, you can't really see. Bad lighting. It turned immediately orange again. And I've looked in the tank. It's not like the tank's not rusted or nothing. It's just probably sediment from the lines, and probably has something to do with the filter being orange. So do this 2 or 3 times and see how clear we can get it. Old vehicles like this are normally pretty forgiving when it comes to stuff. They're not as sensitive as these new cars, and it's probably why I only really work on old shit. Yeah, I'll just keep washing this thing out. I'm pretty confident it's gonna run today. Now as far as stopping, it's a different story. It's already starting to run clear. It don't look great, but I think a lot of that color is coming from the filter. It's probably got a buildup of crap in it, but no, that doesn't help. I think this will be enough to be relatively confident it's not going to gum up the jets. Yeah, it's already pretty much clear. So, all right, get this line back on. I don't know if I'm going to do the bottle trick and stick the end line. Which way does that run? 2 carbine. Not real sure if I'm gonna do the bottle trick or not on the fuel line to prime up this this filter. We'll see. I'm hoping it'll pull what's already in the tank out and prime itself. That would be nice, just so I know everything's working as it should. Now, if this was more sensitive of a vehicle, I would blow out. I would want to blow out the fuel line with air just to make sure that there's not really anything in it. But like I said, these things aren't really too sensitive to stuff like that. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but I've been wrong before, and if I am wrong, we'll jet it. Alright. Fuel filter cleaned, fuel pump on, lines hooked up, got coolant in it. Let's see what this battery does. If I have to, I'll pull the tag over here and just keep it hooked to the battery, but I'm hoping this 30-ish minutes has been enough to get a decent charge on it. Oh man, I hope this thing runs today. I'd really like to drive it. Alright. All set up. I have no idea if y'all can see the screw glare is real right now. Alright. See what she does. Got good contact. Alright. Old fuel pump away. Don't need that falling in the motor. Double check. Both lines on. Fuel filter's hooked up. Alright. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Let's see what happens. Alright, let's see if that got any fuel in that. right. So let's, just for peace of mind, I don't try to test this battery too much. I'm gonna do the water bottle trick. Put gas in this water bottle. Take that line off. Damn it. Covered myself. Take that line off. And stick it down in this water bottle. And see if it primes up that fuel filter. If it does, I know something's... Oh! I know everything's working as it should. If it doesn't, I have misdiagnosed a fuel filter or a fuel pump, and it's not drawing vacuum for some reason, which I never really dealt with that issue. So it'd be nice if I had something to hang this from. Here, we're just gonna sit y'all right over here. Boom. All right. That one. I'm gonna pull this one off. I did this yesterday to diagnose the fuel pump, just to make sure that it was actually going to pull stuff through it, pull fuel through it, and it didn't. That wasn't enough time, me starting it, or me turning it over then, probably to prime it. But with how bad shape this battery is in, I don't have a lot of excess crank abilities to really just let this thing sit and crank over and over and over. And I need to know right now if it's gonna pull fuel up through that filter. So I'll try it again. Well, fuel line is connected. I don't see any vacuum lines missing off of it. Huh. Let's see. That battery's not doing so hot. Well, damn. I'm not real sure what's going on here. We're gonna try something else. So I'm gonna pull this fuel filter back off. Try to prime it myself. Fill it full of fuel. And we'll see if the pressure that the fuel pump is creating is actually pushing fuel through the line, and go from there. Because everything looks like it's hooked up as it should be. Pour gas down the carb and it tries to fire right off. That's a random, some kind of line that goes into the intake. That's a vacuum line that is hooked to the distributor. That looks good. Oh, well, that might be. Looks like a vacuum advance that's just holding on for dear life. That might be our problem. That could very well be the issue. There's a vacuum line on the back of this carburetor that runs down into the intake. I'm not 100% sure what it is. I think it's the vacuum advance for the fuel pressure regulator, maybe. That's what that looks like. So that could be a problem. Oh, let's see if I got a worm clamp. Not appear to have a worm clamp with me. Alright, so we'll put a worm clamp on that. Put the fuel filter, put fuel in the fuel filter, and we'll start there again. Alright, so didn't have a worm clamp in my bag of bullshit. So I just grabbed a zip tie. It'll work for now. I'm just trying to, get this thing actually pulling fuel through it. Filled up the filter, put the bottle back on the fuel line. So now let's see what happens. It choked. That battery's not cutting it. I really don't want to pull mine out to do it. So go a whole lot faster. If I had a hot battery. Son of a bitch. Well, looks like I'm gonna pull the Integra over here and let the cable sit on it for a while. Yeah, that's what we'll do next. Alright, let this thing charge for a good minute. I pulled the fuel pump off just to make sure that my gasket was sealing. That was an afterthought because it had one on the pump side and one on the block side, and when I pulled it off, the one on the block side looked fine, so I just threw it back on. But I was like, you know what, while I'm letting it charge, screw it, I'll go ahead and throw the other gasket on the fuel pump. That has nothing to do with it actually pumping. That's just making sure the oil stays in the motor. Everything seems to be making good contact. When I stick it in, I can feel what is it? Damn it. You can feel the lever, the arm hit the crank, hit the lobe on the crank, and you've got to like angle it down and actually put tension on the arm to get the bottom bolt on. So it feels like it's making good contact. I tapped on the bowl a few times because sometimes when these things have sat for a while with no fuel in the bowl, that arm can seize. So I tapped on the housing a couple times. I'm gonna pour some more gas down the throat of it and see what that does. Yeah, I still got some left in this little one. We're gonna see what happens. May just not be pulling vacuum through that bowl because the float's seized. It's happened before. Oh shit, it would help if I unhooked if I hooked the negative up. I've been unhooking the negative because the brake lights stay on even when the key's off, so that's another problem for another day. And the lights are off. Lights are off. I don't even know if they work. I ain't got that far yet. Windshield wipers? Hold on. Windshield wipers? Hey, windshield wiper. Oh, that's not good. Let's try this. So it'll burn the fuel that you dump down it off. Push that choke back out. It seems to fire off better without that choke running. I really don't want to have to do what I'm thinking about doing, and that's create a gravity feeder where I basically take that bottle, flip it upside down, hang it from the hood here. That way it's just feeding the car by gravity. That's what I have to do, and that's what I have to do, but I gotta make sure what's working and what's not. Because if I do that gravity feed system and it doesn't pull anything through the carb, that means that bowl isn't filling up with fuel to actually let it draw fuel in. But even still, that pump should be filling that fuel filter. Try to burn this damn starter up either. Come on, baby. It still ain't pulling no fuel through this filter. Vacuum. All my vacuum lines look good. There's not very much vacuum in these damn things. Tap on it some more. Tried to run. Well, it backfired. To nothing. It's burning off whatever's in that carb. Well, I think I'm gonna let this thing charge for a while, and I'm gonna go do some interwebs research, see what I can't figure out, because it's not pulling anything through this filter. Even try to prime it. So maybe ask my Ford friend Joey. He's my go-to Ford guy. He's the one that actually got me into Fords. He sold me my Falcon and my F100. I actually traded in my Falcon for the F100, then he ended up with both of them. So I'll probably shoot him a message and see what he thinks. He knows these things front to back. So we'll hopefully get this thing sorted out soon. I have a feeling the bowl or the float and that bowl stuck, but we'll find out. All right, so something occurred to me, and I swear to God, if I was right, I'm not gonna name who it was, but if I ever see him, I'll kill him. If they give me a good enough reason to and not go to jail. And if I was right, I guarantee somebody eventually, sometime, someday, will see exactly what I was doing wrong and comment and tell me. Man, I really hope that I was right. So, what I believe I have figured out is when I approached the truck and started taking everything apart, you know, I'm used to stuff being in the place it should be to mechanically work. Well, this is the line into the pump. When you do that on the other pump, it pushes air out this way. That should have been my number one sign. And when I got to it, these lines were switched. This line was going to the filter, and this line was going to the tank. So, if I'm correct in my assumptions of what happened, somebody who shall not be named swapped fuel lines because the starter relay was gone as well too. And so is the float in the tank. Gee, I think I figured out what happened to this truck. Well, it looks like a running and driving truck to me. I don't know about driving yet, the driving part. I ain't too happy with that belt or where that fuel filter's at, right there against that pulley. And I'll shut it off, move that fuel filter around, and we'll play with this thing. See what it'll do. I was right! Huzzah! Huzzah! Alright, I don't know how much coolant this thing's got in it or what other issues it may or may not have. So we're gonna shut it off. But yeah. So now, every time I have to do anything around here, I have to go into the mindset of, has it been sabotaged? My godmother has been dealing with that same thought process for a while because everything that was touched here by he who shall not be named was basically sabotaged. The bulldozers, the tractors, even some of the ATV stuff, four-wheelers, dirt bikes, etc. So yeah, that's it, and it's my fault. I should have put two and two together sooner than I did, but it's figured out. That fuel pump's probably fine. I guess we got a spare now because I don't see the point taking that one back. I mean, it's good to have one of these things laying around. So we figured it out, and I'm a little pissed, but it runs. It runs well. It went straight to idle, didn't choke it, didn't nothing. So that's awesome. To move this, this line probably just over the top of that there, and keep it away from that. Oh crap, sorry. I'm probably just going to move the fuel filter on top of this here just to keep it away from that pulley, and I will need to bleed the coolant, but I put a fair amount in it the other day. Yesterday actually, like the radiator's full. It might not need bled, it may just, the radiator itself may have been low. Let's go ahead and pull this off. Let's move that line over it. Get that try that. So, yeah. Oh, man. I'm happy I got it going, but I'm pissed at what I figured out. I cannot stand somebody that purposely sabotages somebody's car to make themselves feel self-important or something like that, because that's what I suspect was going on in this situation. It was I'm gonna make this not function, so you have to depend on me to get it going, you know. Oh hey, this quit working, can you fix it? Yeah, sure, no problem. Have it done in 20 minutes. That's just because you went out there and undid what you screwed up purposefully. So, alright, that's, I'm going to tighten that down. That can still fall there. So, I am going to run this fuel line between the coil and the distributor, just to make sure that we keep this filter out the way. So that water belt or water pump pulley, so she's real good and out of the way. It's still not real good and out of the way. That's better. It's a lot better. So, let's see what happens again. I can actually let this thing run for a minute. I'm not worried about that filter laying on that water pump. Oh. Come on, come on. I just put air in the system when I took that filter apart. Gas down the throat. Okay. Got a little pressure. Oh crap, I forgot. I may be out of fuel in my water bottle. Yeah. We're out of fuel in the water bottle. So let's see on here. And we've got fuel in this tank. Crap, I forgot I need another. Oh, what was that one? Crap. Yeah, I had another worm clamp that fell under here somewhere. I thought it did. I laid it up top. That just shows you the gas mileage on these things. That bottle was full whenever it fired off, and it drank that bottle in no time. Oh, I'm not feeling that worm clamp. Oh, duh. I stuck it up on the top so I wouldn't lose it. Screwdriver. pour the rest of what I got in this this jug in the tank just to make sure we got a decent amount of fuel in it. Make sure the pickup's grabbing it. I don't see why it wouldn't. It runs to the very bottom of the tank, so it should be fine. But I just want to make sure so I got enough time to actually let this thing run. See if anything else is going to give up on it, which I suspect it will. Trucks like this, you know, they sit. You get them running, it ends up needing a water pump or a cool. Definitely going to need belts. I want to put belts on it just because they don't look very good. Oh man, I'm glad that worked out. That should be plenty. So, pour some more gas down the throat. Get her primed up a bit. See what she does. There you go. Come on, baby. Needs another gas cap. Come on, baby. Let's go. Oh, just sniffed the carb. Hey. Why is this windshield not straight? Whatever. She's trying. There we go. Yeah, I might choke it a bit. Give it a little bit of choke. Nope, I don't like choke. Did the choke just freeze? I think the choke just stuck. Choke is stuck. Let's go ahead and kill it. I think that choke's stuck. It didn't feel real good to begin with. No, it's open. It probably needs lubed up. Do I have PT Blast with me? I don't know if I do. Oh, it's open. All right. Idle. Come on. Come on, you know you want to. Feels a little rough. Might be missing just a bit. Might be missing just a hair. See if we can get it to idle with this choke. Nope, it don't like the choke. It sounds healthy when it's revving. It feels healthy now. It's idling. I'm not gonna let it run too much longer because of all the crap that's on this valley. It's probably gonna die. Well, maybe not. Yeah, it died. That's a win though. We've got fuel in the filter. It's not happy at idle right now, but that be a little bit of carburetor adjustment. I want to get rid of the shroud because the shroud is holding on for dear life. Somebody tried to save it, and it's just time to let that thing go. I do want to get it running, and let's see if it moves. Let's try that. See if it'll go in gear and move under its own power. That would be a win-win. So, come on. Come on. Come on. Battery's getting weak. Alright, let's give it a sec. It might have flooded. We're gonna give it a minute. I should have checked that while it was running, but like I said, I'm kind of worried about crapping that valley lighting on fire. We'll give it a minute. That's a win though. It started. It kind of idled. Window rolls down. I don't know if headlights work. Windshield wipers work, but somebody's been running them without blades on it, and the windshield scratched all to hell. Ew. That's not even saggy. That's solidified. That could come out. Looks like there's been something living in it. Cool. I'm so happy I figured that out. I am pissed that it took me that long to figure out, and why I had to figure that out. Because that fuel filter or that fuel pump's probably fine. I don't see no point in taking it back off and changing it or in taking it back. It was 15 bucks. It's better to just have a spare one. But yeah, swap the fuel lines. That was a good one. That was a good one. Took me a minute to figure it out. And I should have figured it out immediately. All right, let's try it again. There she goes. She's gonna move. And first, she's gonna move. Ha ha! Rolls. There we go. Let her die. Let it die. You've done your job today, girl. Sweet. I was really worried that these drums were locked up because they have a habit of doing that. But she moved. She moved out of her hole. This one isn't quite resurrected yet, but the rest of the brakes is just a formality. Crap, I gotta check one more thing because she wants to know if the dump bed works. And I want to know if it works too. Oh, and I don't have to have it in gear for that. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. There you go. Come on. Come on. Nope. Come on. Switch for dump bed. Nothing. It's probably electric. I didn't know if it was electric or ran off of a PTO. It's probably electric and probably just not hooked up. So That's a job for a later day. That would be the reservoir. That's the pump. Cylinder's back there in the middle. So I would suspect that that has, yeah. So I bet that's the wires for the pump. And they're buried somewhere back here. That might be for them. I don't know yet. I hadn't gotten that far. So, huzzah, success. It runs. That's all I needed it to do for today. So, I'm gonna get packed up. Gonna leave this thing where it sits for now, and probably come back later this week and put. I'm gonna put fluid in that master cylinder just to see what it does. I'm already pretty sure I'm gonna want to replace it. Just I don't like the way it feels on my foot. I've had the same issue out of my Falcon. Last time I drove it, got it running, took it up the road, ran fine, drove great, went into a corner and hit the brakes. And you don't really hit the brakes in these, especially in those old Falcons. They're 4-wheel manual drum. You kind of just press them and hope for the best. They don't really do a lot. They're just pretty much there to make you feel better. But it doesn't make you feel very good when you press them and you go into a curve and it gives. I didn't lose braking power, but it gave and dropped about that much, just like that one is doing. Whenever you get about halfway down, it just kind of loses resistance and almost goes to the floor. So we'll put brake fluid in this thing, bleed it, see what happens. But with the kind of work that this truck's going to be doing, some of it might be on the side of a mountain on steep angles, so I absolutely want to make sure that these brakes are as good as they can get and that the rear e-brake is as good as they can get. We may end up actually doing rotors and calipers too, I think. Hold on, let me check. Yeah, so it does have front disc brakes, which is pretty nice on this old of a truck. But when I was up under it, y'all could probably see it behind me, they've got a lot of rust on them. That doesn't always mean that they're not functional, but like I said, with this truck doing the kind of work that it's going to be doing, brakes are very, very, very important. Even with this thing being a 4-speed, it's geared like a tractor, but you still want your brakes to work. So probably come back later in the week, tomorrow in fact, actually, and start going through everything else. Test the brakes, see what they're going to do, try to get this thing to idle right. Probably just need to adjust the carburetor one way or the other, and get a good hot battery for it, and then we'll figure out the dump bed. Once this thing runs and drives and stops, dump bed comes last, because the dump bed's a luxury, honestly. So want to make sure everything else works the way that it should before we worry about that. But that dump bed's pretty simple. I mean, it's just a hydraulic pump, and I've never messed with hydraulics before, but they're pretty simple. Pump drives fluid into the cylinder. As long as the pump is good and the cylinder doesn't explode, then should be fine. But that's something else for a later date too. I've got to make sure that that pump and that cylinder and those lines are going to hold pressure, because the most dangerous part about a dump bed is if it has a load on it and that cylinder blows apart, it's catastrophic. If anybody is anywhere near where it would fall down, you're done. I mean, you might live, but you're probably going to be eating through a straw for the rest of your life, because you're not stronger than that dump bed. So a bunch of safety concerns when it comes to this truck. So safety is paramount when it comes to making sure this thing runs fine. So once it runs, which it does, drives, it seems to drive to an extent, and stops, then we worry about the dump bed. So stay tuned. I'm man, I'm glad I figured out what I did, but man, it pisses me off too. So, see you tomorrow.